Hey beauties, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be unboxing, demonstrating, and reviewing the new Gucci eyeshadow palette. This is the Gucci palette Beaute des Yeux in the shade 01 Floral. So this is the box. On the back it has a little picture of all of the shades inside. It's a pretty pricey palette. It retails for $150. I purchased mine directly from Sephora. I know it's also, I think it's still pre-order on the Saks website. I imagine by now it's available a few other places, maybe the Gucci website. What struck me about this palette is the packaging. Of course, the Gucci compacts have been incredible. Their rebranding is amazing. It's very old Hollywood, very glamorous, refillable packaging. And I read it was either on the Gucci website or maybe a Gucci post, but they recommended that when you finish the eyeshadow palette, you can actually remove the tray and use this compact as a jewelry box. So I thought that was such a genius idea, and I did have a gift card to put towards it, so it was a little bit less painful, but this is her. On the back it says eyeshadows in satin, matte, and metallic finishes. There are 12 pans inside. The palette comes packaged in the pale pink velvet protector, which is really pretty. It's nice to hold on to. It helps prevent your palette from getting scratched whenever you put it in the drawer, but also if you do plan to travel with the palette, you're definitely going to want to hold on to these velvet protectors. It looks vintage, almost a throwback to something your grandmother would have on her vanity. And then you flip it around and you have the pale pink. So I just love the front, the back, all of the details, the design, gold trim. It doesn't feel like it's going to scratch or chip. Really impressive package. And then you open it up. And I really like this color story. For a first eyeshadow palette from Gucci, I think this is very pretty because you do have some pops of color. You also have some neutrals. So I think it's very wearable. The pans are very small, just to warn you, so when you open it up and you see how small the actual palette is, you might be disappointed. But again, if you're spending $150 on a Gucci eyeshadow palette, it's not because you're looking for the best possible value. It's because you really love this packaging. You plan to maybe use this as a display piece, gift it to somebody who loves designer luxury items, and you're probably planning on reusing this compact and not simply throwing it away. So I am a little bit disappointed in the size of the eyeshadows, but that's not really why I personally purchased the palette to begin with. How regularly are you really going through eyeshadow palettes? Are you using up palettes in their entirety, even when you're trying to? Probably not. So I don't think that should be a huge concern. Again, if you're going to buy the palette, it's because you love the entire package. It looks like the palette is mostly matte. I'd say 7 matte shadows, including these 3 right here, these 2, and then the end shadows right here are matte. This one looks metallic and potentially this kind of peachy gold. This one looks like it has some sparkle, and then I'd say probably 7 mattes, maybe 2 metallics, and 3 satins. But let's not wait. Before I dive into the rest of the makeup, I'm going to go ahead and swatch this palette for you guys. That way we can see what the texture is like. Very interested in the formula. All of the mattes felt really smooth. The satins felt really creamy. The metallics could go either way. This peachy gold right here was kind of a dud. It surprised me. But then this silvery metallic shadow was really smooth and continuous, very creamy. So we'll see. The only way to truly know how they will apply to the eye is to apply them to the eye. I have a lunch meeting right after this, so I can't do 2 looks today, but I'm starting with a rougher 15 brush, and I'm going into this shade right here, and this is going to be our transition shade. I love how big the mirror is in the palette. That is super convenient. I already primed my eyes with just a little bit of the Hourglass concealer. So I'm concentrating that color on the outside of the crease, but then working it in. And then once the product is distributed on the eyelid, I'm blending up. That way it's nice and soft. Even though the palette has a lot of neutrals, it's not excessively warm. There are a lot of cool tones, a lot of neutral undertones in this palette, so I think it does bring something different. And a lot of the shadows, especially on the second row, I think would be perfect for creating fall makeup looks. Easy to blend and no fallout. That's the thing about having such a silky eyeshadow. I don't think this palette will give us any fallout trouble. I just picked up a flat shader brush and I'm going into the light peach over here, and I'm going to apply that to the lid. Not patchy at all. The mattes are really velvety. They feel really nice. Now I'm scared to go into that metallic shade right here, but I think we have to do it because I think that might be the one terrible shadow in the palette, but we'll see. Have to show you the good, bad, and the ugly. If there's one bad shadow in the palette, it's not going to make or break it for me. But honestly, I picked this up mainly for the packaging. Which probably sounds silly, but I have enough eyeshadow. I really just like it as a display piece. Or like they suggested, even a little jewelry box. I just wiped off my brush. Moment of truth. Let's try to go into this shade. And I'm going to apply that to the lid. No, it is a chunky mess. Gross. Oh no. That is not sparkle, that is chunky. Yeah, that looks horrible. I kind of thought it might. It's a shame because it could be really pretty. I feel like almost every single palette on Earth has a color like that. That isn't terrible. Like, it can't be that hard to create a shadow, but let me try my finger and see if that helps. Not really. It's maybe a little bit better, but not much. That eyeshadow is very strange. It's almost sheer. Like, I can see there's some shimmer in there. But even applying it with my finger, I almost felt like I was rubbing away the matte peach underneath. Like, now I need to add more eyeshadow back to this eye. Yeah, this shadow is terrible. I knew it from the swatch. The swatch was terrible, and sure enough, the application to the eye is terrible. It feels like it should go on really smooth and creamy. This one does. This one is perfect. This is awful. I picked up a Sephora 19 brush, and I'm going to go into this shade right here. With a blank fluffy brush, I'm just blending on top. I'm going back with the original matte peach, and I'm covering up that metallic shade. And then with a Rephr 13 brush, I'm going to pick up the chocolate brown, and I'm going to pop that in just the outer V area. If you hate fallout, they seriously nailed the formula for you. It's so silky and smooth, it just kind of sticks together. So even going in with this dark shadow, there's really nothing underneath the eye. One last time, I'm very quickly going back with a blank fluffy brush and just blending everything on top. Kind of blending right over the crease. The top of the eyeshadow is now done. It's a little bit uneven, but I think it will help when I finish the face. I can kind of even it back out. And I really don't have much fallout on my cheeks. Even though I have tons of moisturizer on my face, I mean, my skin feels sticky. It would grip any powder that fell on the cheek. There's really nothing there. And I'm just going to create a little bit more of a crisp line here, so I'm using my makeup wipe. I'm really impressed with how silky the shadows are. For as terrible as that metallic eyeshadow was, and it was terrible, the mattes look so nice. Like, nothing looks patchy when I look close in the mirror. Everything looks really smooth, perfectly blended, a nice ombre, peach, kind of medium brown, deep brown. Really nice. I wanted to do a full face of Gucci, but I don't think the Gucci foundation is a nice match for me right now. So instead, I'm going to go in with the Estee Lauder Double Wear in the shade 3N1 Ivory Beige. And I will be blending this out with a Sephora Pro Foundation 56 brush. I rediscovered this foundation recently and I love it. It's so perfecting and long lasting, and it kind of checks all the boxes. At least if you like full coverage and long wear. Probably not a great everyday foundation, but really nice for those days that you want a little extra glam. Or photos, date nights, special occasions. Next, I'm going in with the Hourglass Concealer. I know it looks very bright right now, but the concealer will oxidize and it won't be quite so bright. I did pull out my Gucci powders. These are some of my favorite products in my collection. Yes, the packaging is beautiful, but actually the product is just really good. So I have the Gucci powder. This is the Matte Natural powder in 01 is the shade. It's very light and brightening. And then I have the Gucci Eclat Soleil bronzer in 03. This is the shade that I use. So I'm going to use these two powders to finish the face. When you lift up the powder, you can see there's a little hole there. So this is a refillable compact. I don't think I have ever seen the refills anywhere. Not on the Gucci website, not at Sephora, but I imagine at some point they'll be available if they aren't already. That's another great thing I like about these powders. Because I certainly wouldn't want to throw away this compact. It's so nice. Because this powder is so light and brightening, I'm only using a teeny tiny bit right underneath the eye. Gucci bronzer, I'm using the Sephora 59 Pro Powder brush to blend. Ooh. It's so silky, just like the matte eyeshadow, so it blends so easily. I really can't wait to go into the purples and the smokier shadows. Maybe that black, the blue, the metallic silver. But because I'm going to lunch and it's still pretty hot in Miami, I just didn't want to roll up with a dark smoky eye. I don't think that would have been appropriate today. So even though I'm playing it kind of safe for the first impression, at least we can kind of discover the texture of these eyeshadows. They don't make a Gucci blush just yet, or a highlighter, I don't think. I can't wait until they do. I'm sure they will at some point. So I'm going to go in with this holiday palette from Hourglass. This is the Ambient Lighting Edit Universe palette. There we go. Both of these blushes are really pretty, but I'm going to pop up here in this warm blush. Perfect. I'm also going to use the strobe powder as my highlight. I was trying to think, this powder looks familiar. I feel like that might be a repeat. I need to check all of the powders. I don't mind. I think this is actually my favorite palette from Hourglass. I've purchased their holiday palette the previous 2 years, so I only have 3. I don't have a huge collection. Last year's was better than the year before, and I do think this year's is even better than last year's. The blushes and the powders are fine, but I actually just prefer the bronzer shade. It's a little bit more neutral. It's not so muddy and it's not so red. Last year's was a little bit too red. Going back in the palette now to finish the eyes, I picked up a pencil brush and I'm going into this peach. And I'm going to run this beneath the lower lash line on the inner lower lid. Lower lash line. Thought about going in with this, but the rest of the shadows are a bit warmer and this one is pretty cool tone, so I just think it will clash. So instead, I'm going to very lightly pick up this brown and I'm going to buff that beneath the lower lash line on the outside. And I'm going to kind of blend in the center. Yeah, I think that looks good once I blend it out. This is a BK Beauty 203 brush, but I just need a blank brush that I can just use to buff and soften this. I'm not trying to spread the eyeshadow. I don't want it to become raccoon and really smoky. So I'm not really swirling, but I'm just softening this up a little bit and then connecting back. There, like that looks really nice and blended. And the shadows are easy to blend, at least the mattes are. I know I keep praising the mattes, but that's really all I was able to use today. And the one metallic shadow I tried was garbage. So the mattes are really the star of this show at the moment. But I don't think they're just good. I actually think they're superior to other mattes. Because they're so silky, there's no fallout. They don't look patchy. They blend really well together. It's really just a shame they couldn't figure out that other formula. With my little precision brush, I'm tapping into the white eyeshadow. I'm going to pop that on the inner corner of the eye. Sort of the tear duct area. I quickly filled in my eyebrows off camera. I did brown eyeliner in the waterline and the top lash line. I really liked the chocolate eyeliner from Gucci for the waterline, but I already used it up, so I went in with a Chanel and then my Gucci mascara. This is my Holy Grail mascara. It is just the best thing ever. I'm almost done with this, so I'm going to have to replace this soon, but if you have not tried the Gucci mascara, this is amazing. It is so good at separating every single lash, so it makes them look really fluffy. And then I lined my lips with the Pillow Talk Lip Cheat from Charlotte Tilbury, which I think actually I have a nude lip liner from Gucci, but I didn't pull it out for some reason. And then this is my favorite Gucci lipstick. This is Blaze of Noon. It is just the perfect nude. I love this shade. It has just enough color so that it doesn't look really pale, but it's not too dark. It actually goes with the Pillow Talk really nicely. That's basically it. Now that my lipstick is on, I could maybe add a little more blush and bronzer if I really wanted to. I am running late for lunch, so I'm not going to touch it. But this is the complete look. Yes, it's probably pretty basic and neutral for being a first time using this palette, considering we have some purples and blues in here. I can already sense the judgment and the criticism. But I didn't want to test these and dig around in these blues and purples and have it go absolutely horribly and then have to get out the door. So yes, it is a safe look for the first time, but I'm really happy with the matte shadows in this palette. I think they perform beautifully. Last step before I forget. I want to make sure, let's see. I'm picking up this BK 204 brush. I'm going back into the white. I kind of dabbed that on the inner corner, but I just want to highlight the brow bone with this first. Let's see. looks pretty. Usually I use something with a little shimmer to highlight the inner corner and the brow bone, but I actually like the matte white. Perfect. Now the look is done. I think that looks really pretty. But back to what I was saying before, the next time I use this palette, I promise to dip into these cooler tones. And even these over here, I think this will make a really pretty fall makeup look. But probably more evening. So I will use this again. This won't be the last time you see this palette on my channel. Overall thoughts, I'm still happy with the purchase. I think as luxury collectors and luxury makeup lovers, we do have to be honest with ourselves about why we're buying certain products. I know it's a very, very common complaint that I get in the comment section that, oh, you're just paying for the name, or you're just paying for the Chanel logo on the compact. But that's not entirely true. Most of the products that I invest in as luxury makeup, it's a higher quality product. I think the pigments are better, they're longer lasting, they have higher quality ingredients inside. And yes, you do get the pretty packaging, but it's everything all together. That's really why I love luxury. When it came to this palette, I really wasn't as interested in the shadows. I didn't want them to be terrible, but it wasn't going to make or break the purchase for me. I knew I was spending $150 on this palette because of the compact. And I figured if these were workable, then I would make them work. But this really wasn't the selling point for me. And I don't think this is going to be the selling point for most people. If we're being honest with ourselves, these 12 tiny little pans of eyeshadow, are they worth $150? No, they're not. Now, are these eyeshadows, being that now we know the mattes are really great, in this refillable, gorgeous Gucci compact, is that worth $150? That's going to be up to you to decide. I still say yes. I think it's stunning. This is something that, I mean, it's just one of the most beautiful pieces in my makeup collection. Instantly. It's gorgeous. The velvet protector, it's weighted, just everything about it. And I have a feeling we might see refills at some point. I mean, that would be the only reason for them to make this removable. Why else would they make this removable? I guess maybe they figured they just wanted this to be reusable and they didn't really have anything in mind, but I think maybe we'll see different eyeshadow palettes that just come in the refill, and then you can put whatever you want in there. But if you want to pop this out and just use this as a little tray, I think that in itself, even subtract the eyeshadows, this I would say is worth $150. And if you look at the price of the Gucci candles and some of the Gucci home decor, it's not a terrible price. And if you can get your Sephora points or your Saks points, plus you get the eyeshadows inside, I'm not gonna lie to you and say it's a great deal. It's not a bargain by any stretch, but I think if you're a luxury collector, you're gonna be happy with this palette. Hate this shadow. This is garbage. The rest of the mattes that we touched today, beautiful, blendable, silky, no fallout, better performance than my Charlotte Tilbury mattes. I'm really happy with most of the shadows in the palette. Now, these four right here and then these over here, that's going to be more of an evening smokier fall look. So that we will have to play around with in the future. As far as the end makeup result, I am very happy with this look. I feel confident heading out the door and meeting my friend for lunch. I think it's a very pretty neutral look. The Gucci face powders I knew were great. I love this lipstick. The concealer, all of the complexion products, the Hourglass palette is beautiful. Everything came together really nicely, and I will tell you guys, this is 100 times better, probably 300 times better than the Get Ready With Me that I filmed a couple days ago that I ended up scrapping because the makeup turned out awful. So this is a much better makeup look. I'm so happy with everything. The eyes, the complexion, cheeks, lips. It's just a nice everyday soft glam makeup look in my opinion. So that completes today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed it and you found it helpful to see the eyeshadow palette in action. If you were sort of teetering on the fence, you weren't sure whether or not it was worth it, I hope this video helps you make a decision. But that completes today's review. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Leave me your comments, questions down below. As always, I will be linking everything mentioned. Everything on my face will be down in the description box for your convenience. And for more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell.